everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And I know I don't normally get on in the evenings, but I am here with my friend Erin from The Humbled Homemaker, and I've got her website address here. Y'all can take a picture of this if you like and visit her. I have guest posted over at Erin's a couple of times, and we are actually together visiting. I've never got to meet another vlogger before, so I'm so excited to be here with her because I have been writing for 2.5 years, working in this space, and I've never met anybody in my industry. So it's so exciting to be here with Erin, and I have known her for, I think we've connected maybe about 1.5 years ago, and I have followed her because of reading Crystal over at moneysavingmom.com, and she has done a lot of guest posts over there and had a lot of stuff shared, and then we found out that we have some family relative people that we know. I used to babysit for her cousins, and so that was a long time ago, but that's pretty neat that we learned that. And tonight we have been talking about marriage. We have been talking about how we met our husbands and just kind of the dating process and the courting process. And it was so cool because both of us decided or realized that there came a point in our relationships that we stopped kissing while we were dating with our spouses. And I've actually never met anybody else who came to that same realization, that there comes a point when you're kissing so much and you're getting close to wanting to get married that you kind of have to stop. So thanks so much for commenting and coming on. You're not married, but you're taking notes. And honestly, guys, marriage advice has to start before you get married. It really does. I know the couples that are doing the best together are the ones that have the most input. So yes, and kissing does lead to other things. So that's why I know my husband and I stopped. And
that's why we stopped.
Erin, her husband, said that they stopped. So, and I thought that was really awesome to be able to talk to someone else about their marriage story, how they fell in love, and all those awkward dating years that we never want to relive. Do you want to relive your dating years?
Probably not. I would go back to Costa Rica, but we weren't dating there.
All right. She and her husband spent a year not dating and clearly really liked each other. So,
hey May, she's a good friend of mine from college.
Who is Josh P? Was that the guy who did the book, right?
No, that was one of our other really good friends, my roommate.
All right.
Her now husband, he would say kissing leads to babies. So
yeah, that's what my mom would say. Kissing makes babies, and that's so true, right? So yes, we have been able to hang out tonight and talk about a lot of things, just getting to know each other, which is so exciting. And that is something that I absolutely suggest to anybody who is married, is to make sure that you have other friends that are married that have the same mindset as you, because that's helpful in your relationship. You can't do your marriage in a bubble. So Erin, do you have any friends that you're like, oh, I just love hanging out with this married couples? I mean, like, is that something that you guys have in your life?
We do. We have some friends that are in the same season of life as us, and then we have some that are older. Older meaning maybe they've been married maybe 10 more years than us. We've been married 10 years. We, in our small group, we love it because there's a couple who they are several years older, and they have 5 kids, and they have 2 teenagers, 2 grade schoolers, and then a baby. And we feel like we can learn a lot from them. Yeah, their kids were like, they had 2 back-to-back, and then a 6-year gap, and then 2 back-to-back, and then a 7-year gap. And so we feel like we could really learn from them. Now, our pastor and his wife, they're also in our small group. They have 4 kids. They've been married longer than us because they got married like y'all did in their early 20s. But they're like my age. They're like 34, 35.
They have all the stages covered, right?
But we can learn so much from them, even though they're considered peers. They just have a lot of wisdom. So we totally recommend that. I have a mentor that is in her late 40s, and she and I get together. Y'all have seen her on here before if you follow mine, Holly. I talk to her about marriage advice all the time, and then my husband has a mentor who he talks to about marriage advice and parenting advice. So,
somebody asked, what if your friend doesn't like your husband? Is that what it's saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Your married friend doesn't like your
Okay,
husband.
if your married friend doesn't like your husband, that is a tough situation because your husband really comes first. It's not a boyfriend. We're not talking about like a flyby relationship. If your friend doesn't respect your husband, then you really need to seriously reconsider your friendship. She doesn't like her own husband. Oh, okay. Oh. It's hard to read from this distance. Okay, if your friend doesn't like her own husband, then I would really encourage you to not let her trash her husband and talk poorly of her husband. I actually recommend this for any relationship. If you are in a conversation with someone and they start trashing another person, switch the topic. Tell them, I'm not going to talk about that because it's not good for you and it's definitely not good for them. So as a friend to her, you shouldn't let her go on and on about how much she doesn't like her husband, and instead try to point out the good things about him, and if she doesn't want to have it, then limit your conversations about the husband. What do you think in that situation?
I'm trying to think if I have any friends that don't like their husbands.
I have some that occasionally.
I don't think I do, but my husband just said like counseling is good, and just like recommend that. Like we've been through marriage counseling before. We would love to go again. I mean, we think that that's one of those things, kind of like going to the doctor. Like even when you're not sick, you go. And so if your friend doesn't like your husband, like she could even go for counseling, just her. And maybe the counselor could help her discover like why, maybe the root of why she doesn't like her husband. Like it might not even be her husband, it might be some like things from her childhood or something, and maybe the counselor can help her to learn to love her husband. And recommending a good marriage study, one that we were just talking about a minute ago that my husband and I have been through like 3 or 4 times. It's called Two Becoming One. And it is from Christian Family Life. It is a website? ChristianFamilyLife.com.
Okay.
It is the best marriage study, and I hope you can read.
I've never heard of it, so
you
I need
love
to.
It. You would love it. And one of the things that it talks about there is that your spouse is God's provision for you. So even if your spouse drives you insane, and sometimes you might drive each other insane, then that's maybe to like sanctify you in your life with different areas that God knew you would need sanctification in. And so I know Keelie has a ton of different marriage resources she could probably recommend, but I would recommend something like that to your friend.
Sure. And I haven't ever done Two Becoming One, but yeah, as a friend, and I actually have a blog post that I wrote about today, maybe it was this morning, about how there's always 2 sides to every marriage fight and every marriage story. And when you're listening to a friend talk about a situation in her marriage or his marriage, you have no idea what's going on the other side, but you need to know that there is another side, and that when it comes to marriage and working through these kinds of problems in your marriage, honestly, you have to know both sides, and all you can do is encourage your friend to grow closer to the Lord and do what is needed to be closer and more intimate with God so that they can serve their husband, or vice versa if it's a male. And I think we might have had some questions we missed, guys.
Our husbands are taking y'all's questions so that we might not be able to get to them right away.
So one of them said that their husband is on trips a lot, not answering calls.
Oh, like an actual trip? Like going on
Like
a
a work
Not
trip,
tripping.
a business trip.
Okay, on a lot
on a
of
journey.
business trips, and he doesn't answer his calls. I'm sorry, I'm from like the ghetto. I don't go on trips. Okay, so he doesn't like to answer his phone a lot. Is that what you're saying?
He's
He's
not
answering his phone. So I think there's.
Well, if this is something that is, because I'm struggling to understand the question, if this is something that happens a lot and you want your husband to answer the phone and he is not able to, I mean, you need to have a conversation with why aren't you answering your phone, and when can you call me? You know, call me when you can. And there are, we'll get to that question in a second. There was a time in life when people couldn't call someone right away, okay? My dad worked out of town my entire life, and he called my mom at night, but she did not get to hear from him during the day, and if she did, it was a big problem. And back in the day, long distance cost money, and my dad got to call for like 20 minutes some nights out of the week. So you can live without talking to your husband all the time, but if this is really bothering you and you think he's ignoring you, then have the conversation and find out, okay, are you ignoring me or are you just busy? And that's really a conversation you have to have with them. And I don't really have any other advice for that.
Right on the heels of that, one that just came in was that her husband spends a lot of time gaming, and how to deal with that, basically. And we'll circle back around with a few other.
So,
okay, as far as the gaming goes, I know that Sheila at To Love, Honor, and Vacuum has some posts about this, and I can link up to the post that she has written about how to help husbands who do a lot of gaming on my Periscope page. So if you go to lovehopeadventure.com/Periscope, I will, in my show notes, I will definitely link up to that. I don't have a lot of experience with that because thankfully my husband really just self-regulated himself in that, and he knew it was a problem. So we didn't have a TV for the first like 2 years of our marriage because he knew that was going to be a problem, and I didn't have to deal with that. So that's how we handled it. But if your husband, isn't willing to quit, I don't personally have any real advice except for what I'll link up from Sheila.
I'm kind of like you. My husband did do a little bit of video gaming when we first got married, but I don't remember it ever really being an issue. I mean, we've dealt with other stuff, but that wasn't an issue. And he ended up, poor guy, he sold his Xbox to buy me an embroidery machine for Christmas one year.
That is so fun.
But I never used it.
You never used it? What? Push me.
I'm not crafty.
Mine is broken.
I'm not crafty, so we finally gave it away. We had it for like 5 years. So, but I would pray about it before you approach him and go to that site.
Yeah, I know I'll have to link up to what Sheila at To Love, Honor, and Vacuum has to say about it, because she does have at least 1 or 2 posts about gaming, so...
that same questioner just said, it's how he spends his free time. I'd like him to spend it more with me.
And that is a big problem for women. They want their spouse to spend their free time the way they want them to. And I understand that there comes a point when your spouse is spending more time doing something than they should. But one thing I really had to learn is that I need people all day long like this. I just need people. But then here's my friend Aaron, who doesn't need people all day long, right?
Yeah, introverts.
And neither does my husband. So he has to have that time away from me. And I used to feel very, very hurt by that when he needed that time away from me. And he would feel guilty for wanting it. And it's taken like 12 years almost for us to get this, that I have to let him have his time and spend it the way he wants to. And if I will do that, then he will do the things I need from him. So it's been hard, but we've had to strike that balance. So I don't know, how about you?
For us, I think we both kind of like to have a little bit of, I don't know, like he doesn't.
It's okay to have space.
Yeah, but we don't really have other hobbies when we get home besides Facebook. We watch Downton Abbey. We watch Downton Abbey together, actually. He likes to watch different superhero shows, and I don't like to watch superhero shows.
Sci-fi.
So a lot of times,
Sci-fi for my husband.
sci-fi. Sci-fi is big. So we'll sit in the living room
Okay,
together, and he's unwinding with sci-fi, and I might be chatting with some friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
So when he does that, we actually still stay in the same room. But that's kind of his time to unwind and my time to just catch up with some friends. So,
Yeah.
Or I do some work on the blog.
Kind of how we are.
Keely, one person wanted to know, are you a licensed counselor, and how did you start on this journey of helping others?
I am not a licensed counselor, and that is something I'm very upfront about. And I think there is a place for licensed counselors, and I'm thankful for them, and that is not my future to become one. But the reason I started on the journey about marriage and marriage blogging is that I have parents that very deeply invested in me and invested in other people. And I think that there is just as much need for those of us who aren't licensed or professional to just build relationships with those around us. And I'm not saying that your counselors can't ever have a relationship with you, but that's not their main purpose. Their main purpose is there to listen to you and help navigate through things, not really hang out with you and be a friend. So I feel like for me, I want to give what's going on in my own life, share with people what's going on in my marriage, how I've worked through things in my marriage, just sort of real life examples, and be someone who can just encourage those around me. And you're going to very rarely find on my blog me saying this is how you have to run marriage or this is exactly what you need to do. More often than not, I want to ask the questions to get you thinking about how does God want me to have my marriage be? And I don't think there's any one way to do it. So that's kind of the heartbeat of Love Hope Adventure, is I want to just get the conversations going between you and your spouse so that you guys have the conversations that are needed to have the marriage that you are desiring. And there is a place for that. I think just a real married couple who's been doing it for a while and loves each other and wants to be that, to other people. So I don't know if that...
Do you ever do any public speaking?
I do sometimes. I've recently spoke to my MOPS group, and this was the second time I had spoken to them. I actually did a lot more speaking when my husband was on staff as a pastor. They often would ask me to come, speak at church events, and I used to teach youth every single week. So, and I have taught a lot about sex and marriage because we were in youth ministry for so many years, and we do these things called True Love Waits, which is not actually a thing anymore, but when we were in college,
yes.
I mean, I don't think it's the trend anymore, but we used to run these
Exactly.
youth group weekend retreat things, and after we got done doing the True Love Wait weekends, we would do relationship retreats and things, and this was all with youth. So I'm kind of actually pretty new to talking to married people about sex. I'm used to talking to youth about sex. So I've actually really loved it. You did it every February, and that's what we did. I've hosted a couple of them myself when I was a youth leader, and then I went as a youth leader for a few that my friend would do. He did relationship retreats every year, and so that's
We
me.
did True Love Waits, and we loved it. But I think that it would be great if you did some more public speaking. I think that would be
Yeah.
awesome. And this is awesome.
She's available for booking.
I'm available for booking, my husband says. Yeah, so I have
I'm her
definitely done some, and because I have been teaching the scripture just week in and week out through Sunday school and youth group and things like that, I'm certainly comfortable in that space. So maybe God will lead me to do more women's retreats. I've only done like 2 or 3, so.
That would be awesome. Do you have a speaking page on your blog?
I don't.
Get one, girl.
I do not have a
That's your
speaking page
assignment
on my
for the
blog.
weekend.
Do we have any other questions? You guys are awesome, by the way. Nobody ever asks me anything on my Periscope, so I'm thankful for you guys asking.
Although she loves all of her Periscope followers.
I
equally.
love all of my Periscope followers equally.
Somebody asked about how to balance time between husband and children.
How to balance time between husband and children.
How do you do that?
I don't know if I do it well or not.
After the kids go to bed.
Oh, and someone's asking, do we schedule date night? So while we ponder that, yes, we do. My husband and I try to go out on an actual date where we get sitters once every other month, and then we try to have maybe 1 or 2 times a month where we have at-home date nights, because getting sitters is hard. Teenagers used to babysit all the time, but now everybody's so busy. I babysat week in and week out, and now I can hardly ever find a sitter. So we do schedule it.
So we, like he just said, we spend time together after we put the girls in bed. And we have date nights, but we don't have like a consistent schedule.
Oh, that's
I kind of wish we did. I
We
mean,
do have friends who go every, like, they have a sitter every
Every
Friday
week.
night, and they go every
We
week.
do
That
have
was my
friends.
parents.
Yeah.
My
Like, that
parents.
sitter is for them on Friday night.
Yeah.
Well, once Corbin's old enough to watch the other ones.
Yes, well, my
Friday nights are
parents
over.
would leave us all home together every Friday night because
wow.
my dad worked out of town, and that was what they did. So
we also try to at least once a year, and thankfully, I think this past year we went twice. We try to go out of town together for a weekend.
yeah, that's
And-
what we do.
Our last one, we only went 20 minutes away, but it was still like
As long as it's away.
it was away, and so thankfully my parents live in town, so they can watch the girls. And you know, there was a period where we absolutely could not afford that.
Oh, I know. That's true.
But now, and I used to even think, well, why would you spend that money? But one of my best friends, she got married like 2 years before I did, and she said it is an investment in your marriage, and it truly is. And something else my husband said, and we've done this a few times too, is if you can't afford a babysitter or you can't find a non-busy teenager babysitter, you can swap with a couple.
Sure.
And we've done that a few times too, swap kids.
Yep, I've swapped kids with friends because I have never lived near family. My husband has been associate pastor for like the first 10 years of our marriage, and we still don't live near family, even though he does, and he's a food pantry director, but we still live in the town away, so we oftentimes look for other adults that would be willing to watch our kids, whether they've got kids or not. And sometimes we have swapped when we used to have some friends that needed babysitters. We found that most people don't need swapping of childcare because they have family in town. So we just tried to always look for people who would look at my kids as like their grandkids or something and ask them to help us. And sometimes we can afford to pay a teenager. But like Aaron says, going out of town once a year if you can is so, so helpful. This is actually something my mom has always made happen for us, except for when I had like nursing babies. We couldn't really do that. But my mom and dad would go away every year for a Christmas party for a week. And that was paid for by the company. So that was really awesome for them, and she saw how beneficial it was for her marriage, so she's made that happen for me and all of my siblings. And I'm really blessed in that, but if you don't have that, you should find a way to make it happen. And I would say that a day in and day out way to strike the balance between children and spouse is establishing boundaries with your kids, that there is going to be time when you're going to spend with your spouse alone. So when you put them to bed, they need to stay in bed. I don't bring the kids into my bed. I don't bring them into my room. And that is my personal thing. So if that's not for you, please don't think I'm judging. Because like I said, everyone has to figure this out for themselves. So we keep rest time going, even though I have a child that is in the 5th grade. And my kids go to rest every afternoon. They just have to be quiet in their room and leave us alone. And we have weekend afternoons together. So we do that with one another, and I know that that doesn't work for every household. So you just have to figure out what works for your household.
Maybe over the years, I'd say we've had a couple of different times that were blocked out.
Okay.
When
My
we
husband's talking. Hold
When
on.
we would get ready in the morning,
yes.
lunch times, and then after the kids are in bed.
Yes. Oh, somebody thinks it's so adorable that our hubbies are off camera.
It is. Yeah,
We can't shove them into the picture with us, or we would.
They're taking notes when you guys ask questions.
They're
taking
feeding us
notes.
lines too. They're like, this is how we would do it. You're never gonna fit. Will is never gonna fit.
Come on, honey.
It's a little too close for me.
Come on, Will. Right here.
Come on.
Right
Oh
here.
my goodness. How are we gonna fit
Can
him?
y'all see all 4 of us? Okay.
Oh my word.
My husband's coming.
Here
in.
comes
I'm
Will.
not sure we're gonna stay here.
Yeah,
but
see, look, if you,
Yes,
if you
y'all
go
can-
on her side, there you go. See,
There
now
we
we're
go.
Y'all
done.
see, what do we look like?
Now can we?
It's
can
a
we-
special close friends.
This is a little.
We
too
are
much.
special
that
close
way.
We just
No, here,
met.
you come back this way. You go
We
that
just
way.
met tonight. I think this is a little. too much.
We have met
We
tonight,
just met tonight in person.
and
We
we
call
don't drink.
we
So I
call
just want you
this-
to know that we don't
We're
drink.
calling this accelerated
We
bonding.
met on the internet and we just invited them to our home. Like
Internet dating for bloggers.
And now they're trying to get super close on the couch. This is a little awkward.
Oh my
The
goodness.
first time they met, he sat said she was like this.
That's right.
on
I
him.
was like this.
And the church pew.
All up on.
And yes, we met when we were 15. How old were you, Aaron? Did you ever decide?
Yes.
I was 26.
I'm gonna just note that when the guys got on the screen, the comments blew up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
And
saying.
lots of hearts, too.
Lots of hearts. Thank you.
Lots of hearts.
We met when I was 22, and I think he had just turned 27. So we were older.
There's still some debate as to how old Will was when they met.
I was
So
26 only.
he's
I
saying
think
26.
27.
She thinks
Because it
27.
was August, honey. You would turn 27.
But it was 2000.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well,
it
I
was
was
2003,
15
you're
and my
right.
husband was 16, and we do remember how old we were.
You're right.
Will
it
was trying to
27.
pretend like he was younger than he was.
When you're in your 20s,
I
it
robbed
doesn't
the cradle.
matter how old you are. You don't ever remember how old you are. Do you guys have any other questions for us?
So she's 4.5 years older than me.
See, they're still
Any
debating the
questions?
age instead of reading us questions.
What was the top one there?
No, friend's husband who has stopped believing.
So we had somebody ask about what do you do when your best friend's husband has stopped believing, and then she said she always finds it difficult to broach the subject with her. I think was the idea.
Stop believing in God or the marriage.
It just said stop believing.
Oh,
So
I
if
wish
that
that
if that
commenter
commenter
was
is still
still
on,
on.
yeah.
In,
I didn't
in
catch
God.
what it was.
She said
Oh, in God. Okay, so the husband has stopped believing in God? Right.
The best friend's husband.
The best friend's husband. Okay.
I personally probably would maybe say something like, I just want to let you know, anytime you want to talk, I am totally here. I'm not going to pressure you to talk. So I'm here. We can talk about it if you want to. But I'm praying for you regardless. Just because I don't mention it doesn't mean I'm not praying for you. And then that way the ball's in her court. And that's what I personally would do.
She says our kids are close, feel like we can't invite them to anything, etc. And I'm not sure the intention there.
Well,
honest mom, what do you mean there about inviting them?
about you don't want to invite him because the spouse doesn't believe in God anymore?
Or is it awkward?
Or is it awkward? Yeah, this is kind of a toughie to answer because A, we're not there. And like I said earlier, there's two sides to every story. He's offended if you invite him to a church thing. Well, then stop inviting him to church things and start inviting him to your home and start inviting him to other things where he isn't going to feel threatened, so that you guys can have a relationship. And it's okay if he doesn't go to church things. You can't force someone to believe in God. You may want them to, but what you can do is be a friend to them. And I'm just going to encourage you to really, really invest in them as a couple, because if he doesn't believe in the Lord or stopped believing in the Lord, whether he does or doesn't, they're going to face marital crisis at some point. And either you're going to be there for them as friends, or you're going to have wasted those opportunities. And let me tell you something, when someone gets in the middle of crisis, if they don't always already have friends, they very rarely aren't going to make friends. It's better to be investing in people as much as you can. And it could very well, like you say, be the calm before the storm. But just get in there, be intentional with them, and don't invite them to things that makes him feel uncomfortable. Find other ways to invest in them. Because I'm serious, guys, I have had so many situations over the last year where because we invested a lot of time in the relationships, we were able to be there for people in a way that others couldn't because they didn't have the relationship. So.
And she mentioned, if I understood right, she's afraid of inviting him to church events because he might be offended.
Okay.
If I was reading that right, might be offended. And I'd say, if you're afraid that he might be offended, try. And not in an overbearing way, just, hey, we've got this thing, and do you want to come?
Sure.
And read them, or get the wife's response. And if it was like, wow, that went really badly, or he gets, very standoffish or whatnot, then, like Keely said, then it doesn't have to be at church. Most ministry really happens outside of the church. It doesn't happen at the 4th of July picnic. It happens in your backyard. It happens in your home. It happens around the dinner table. But ask them, and see how it goes. You may find that he doesn't hate the church. He's just stopped believing.
Yeah. And my heart really does go out to you, okay? Because I have had some very dear friends who have gone through some difficult times, and I've had friends that I didn't know as well going through difficult times, and I mean, just anytime I see I have some very heartbreaking readers that come onto the site, and they tell me the most terrible situations in their marriage, and my heart breaks for them because relationships are hard. And I want to fix it for everyone. I really do. And so I hurt for you and your friend because I know that's hard for you. I don't know if we have any more questions.
Don't have any in the...
Great.
Do you guys have any more questions for us?
Before
Or
we
wrap it up.
wrap it up. I don't think I've ever had the song of the Periscope, so thanks so much for sticking on with us. And, you know, Erin and I, we are just real moms and real families doing life. Obviously, we don't have any, like, special fairy dust or anything. I mean,
We've got that over here off camera.
we've got the fairy dust over there, but we're just trying to figure it out like everyone else. And this week it's working for us to do it this way, and that week it's working for us to do it that way. So thank you so much for, I can't read your name from here, Mark. Thank you for commenting and sticking with me. And guys, y'all can check out Erin at thehumboldhomemaker.com, and I'll try to put her thing up again. And y'all can take a screenshot of that and go check her out because she does some great blog posts. Tell us what you blog about.
I blog about homemaking, healthy living, motherhood, and saving money.
That's right. And I have learned a lot from her as far as, you know, just some of the healthy living things. I never knew about some of the things that she's written about. And I am currently reading all of your, like, making money from home things and checking out your Periscope, so you can follow her at Humbled Home.
At Humbled Home.
At Humbled Home. We both decided we picked the longest website names ever, and we should have considered that because Twitter has a maximum of what you can. So I am Love Hope Advent on Twitter, but you can find me at lovehopeadventure.com. And Erin has something new coming up.
The book.
Exciting.
Yes, the book. It's still going to be a while. I just
Something new
announced,
like a year from now,
right?
right?
It's going to be a year. It's going to be a little over a year from now. Traditional publishing is a very long process, but I did just announce that I have a book deal with Zondervan. I'm super excited about it. The book is going to be called More Than Just Making It, and about how you can make it on whatever income you have. But it's going to be part practical how-to and part memoir of how we made it on a low income during the recession, and how we made it not just practically but also emotionally and spiritually, and what God taught us.
What about the thing you just videoed?
That is something else new.
What is it?
That
Tell me about it, because I don't know.
Not a year away. That is soon. That is going to be hopefully sometime in March. My mentor, my real life mentor, Holly DeBorg, and I just filmed a free e-course that we're doing. It's completely free. We're not trying to sell anything. I don't have time to make any new products right now because I'm writing my book. But we have both been, just in our personal life, really struggling in 2015 with eating out too much. And my story is, I went from not being able to afford to eat out except for once a month at Chick-fil-A, and that was a splurge, to
That's us too.
I was super busy all the time, and we started eating out more and more and more, to the point it was like, oh my goodness, we're spending so much money eating out. And so on Instagram, I don't know if any of you guys follow me over there at Erin B. Odom, I started posting pictures of my meals as an accountability for me eating at home. There's a few days this week I forgot to post, and we did eat at home. So what we decided to do was to get together, and we filmed the e-course this week. It's going to be 3 videos, but it's going to be a 3-week course. So each week they'll get a video, and then they'll get 3 emails during the week. We'll have a Facebook accountability group. We'll probably hop on Scope some, and worksheets and printables. So we're going to put together this free course basically just because we need it, and we figure other people probably need it too. Tips on how to make eating at home work. And
where do you find it? Her website, your website?
If you look at thehumbledhomemaker.com, if you just follow me, I will be posting about it in March. If you sign up for my weekly newsletter, it's probably the best way to find out. But she is controlmyspend.com. and it's gonna be completely free. We're excited. It's a challenge for all of us to just make eating at home easier and
Wonderful.
hold each other accountable as a community.
And guys, you guys know that at lovewithadventure.com I blog about some recipes because I think that anything and everything you do in your life has to do with your marriage, including the food you make and eating out and the way you spend your money and the way you keep your house and raise your kids. So all of those things go hand in hand with how the marriage works and the home functions. So I hope you guys will check Erin out, and thank you guys so much for joining us. So exciting.
Yay.
So I will catch you guys on Monday around 1, which is what time I come on most of the time. And yes, no more eating out, right? Yeah, I don't do much eating out because I can't take it. It makes me sick. So I will definitely be doing her course with her, checking it out and blogging about it so you guys can learn about it. So y'all have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
For joining us.
They all like the hubbies being close.